is Living Power with Dan Hurst.
Listen to what I'm saying. No one who has ever succeeded at life did so because they found a secret that nobody else knows. The truth has been revealed by the shepherd. Our God has revealed His truth to us through His Word, and it is available to you. And God says, this truth is available to you. But it's not about what you don't know, because that truth is there for you to know. And you do know it. Certainly, you know it. There's no secret out there that you haven't figured out yet to make it different. And then Jesus makes a most ironical statement. He says, it's not even about what you do know. He says, you worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. What a strange, strange statement. Jesus was saying this. Look, it's not about what you don't know. But listen to this. Look at the Jews. The Jews know that the Messiah is going to come, who's the Savior of the world, is going to come through their lineage. Every Jew knew that. I mean, that's one of the reasons they were so proud of their lineage. So they knew that the Messiah was coming through their lineage. But here's the amazing thing about it. They all knew it, but then when the Messiah showed up, they didn't believe it. So he says, it's not about what you don't know, and it's not about what you do know. In your case, you didn't know these things, and that's not the key. And in the Jews' case, they do know about the Messiah, and they still didn't believe. So it's not about what you don't know, and it's not about what you do know. This is really a warning, by the way. If you know the truth, and you know what you're supposed to do, that knowledge alone isn't sufficient. You must act on it. You must respond to it appropriately. And then Jesus says something amazing. He says, your time to respond appropriately is now. It's in John 4 there, verse 23. But the hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship Him. Now, here is where we discover the principle of the New Start principle. The New Start principle is found in what Jesus says here. He's just told her, it's not about the mountain, it's not about Jerusalem, it's not about what you don't know, and it's not about what you know. Amazing. All of this time, we've thought it was about going back to starting over again and doing it differently, doing it that way and fixing something along the way. It's not about the mountain. And then all this time we thought it was about maybe doing it a different way that somebody else is doing that's successful. It's not about Jerusalem. And all this time we thought about maybe it was because we didn't know the secret, and it's not about what you don't know. And all this time we thought maybe it was we already had this knowledge, and so we're just, what else is there? Because it's not about what you do know. If you don't take it and apply it, it's not about what you already know. So what is it? Well, the New Start principle is found in what Jesus is talking about here. And what he says is amazing. It seems very simple, and we look at it and we go, well, yeah, I can agree with that. What he's saying is true worship is in spirit and truth. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's look at these three key words, the three words of worship, spirit, and truth. And we'll begin to gather and understand what it is that Jesus is saying, not only to the woman, but to us also. The first thing he says is that there needs to be worship. And worship is the absolute surrender to the holiness of God and all the demands that makes on my life. Worship is the absolute surrender to the holiness of God and all the demands that makes on my life. That's worship. When we think of worship, we think about going into a worship service and there's great music and we enjoy ourselves and we feel good about it, and there's this wonderful emotion involved, and sometimes we get up and dance, and sometimes we just pray, and by the time it's over with, we feel good. But if it hasn't caused us to absolutely surrender to the holiness of God and all the demands that makes on our life, that hasn't been worship at all. That's been a show. 1 Chronicles 16, starting with verse 27, talks about worship. Look at this. Splendor and majesty are before him, strength and joy in his dwelling place. Ascribe to the Lord, O families of nations, ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Bring an offering and come before him. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. I love this passage because it's such a beautiful description of worship. His splendor and majesty are greater than my weakness and failure. When I come to worship, I need to understand, God, you are greater than my weakness. You are greater than my failure. And yet you want me in your presence. Not only does he want you in his presence, he wants you sitting in his lap. The king on the throne wants you to sit on his lap. He wants to take you as his little child and hold you. And he wants you to know that his strength is greater than your weakness. And his majesty is greater than your failure. And he also wants you to know that your strength and resource must come from him. It's not your strength and resource. This is so important to understand. And if you will, think about the Samaritan woman this is suddenly starting to say something to her. There's something that's starting to happen inside of her, and she's beginning to understand it's not about my strength and my weakness, but it's about God's strength and God's ability to overcome my weakness. It's not about my failures, it's about his success. His majesty is so much greater than my failure. And wouldn't it be wonderful if I could crawl up into his lap and let him hold me and enjoy that majesty and that splendor and relax in it and live my life that way? When I acknowledge and live out that he is my source, that he is my strength, that he is my majesty, he is my power, he is my success, he is my ability to do all of these things that he expects me to do in my life. I cannot do them on my own. It is about him doing those things in my life. When I acknowledge that, I discover the splendor of all that he has to offer me. Let me ask you something. Think about this just for a moment. What all does God have to offer you? Just think about that. What all does God offer you? Not us. I mean, we can talk about it in the corporate sense. Well, he offers us love and joy and peace and long-suffering. We can come up with all of those words. Once you get beyond all of those religious words, think about it personally. You. What does God say to you? What is he offering you right now? What does he want you to have in your life right now? What is it that he wants to accomplish now in your life? Not what does he want you to accomplish, what does he want to accomplish in you? And then as a result, through you. Do you realize that God isn't telling you to do anything except let him do it through you? There's not a thing that you can find in the Bible where he says, this is what I want you to do, and go on and do it.